Star Trek Beyond dropped into cinemas a few days ago, and I think it's great. I actually think it's the best film out of the 3 Kelvin Universe films so far. Now, the story, without spoiling anything, Kirk is a little disenfranchised. He's 3 years into his 5-year mission. Spock is feeling the obligations of being one of the only Vulcans left in the galaxy, and they're sort of tugging on him a little bit. And overall, these character progressions carry on throughout the film, which is actually very, very interesting. I really liked the little subplots of each character having their own internal struggles. So as you can see in the trailer, they come to a planet, this swarm of ships destroy the Enterprise and they get stranded on a planet. And therefore they have to find a way off the planet, and in doing so you find out the bad guy's motivation, played by Idris Elba. Now, the reason why I like this film so much is it has a much more serious tone than to the other two, and that's probably down to the fact that Kirk is actually a mature, realistic adult in this film. He's actually more like the original series Captain Kirk. He's a real captain. He takes his responsibilities very seriously. His crew is his family. There's some real character progression here, and it's really, really good to see. And I think this is down to Simon Pegg being a co-writer on this film, who absolutely loves Star Trek, and he understands what Star Trek really is. You get some diplomacy in there, you get some action in there, you get a good storyline, a little bit of alien artifacts and things like this. It's very, very interested in that way, and it really feels like an extended Star Trek episode, but in the best way possible. There's a little bit of technobabble thrown in there, which I actually really do enjoy. That's part of Star Trek, so it's good to see that coming back. The mature and more serious tone of this film means that it's less cheesy than the last 2 films, and I think that's really good. They've still got the jokes in there, and the jokes do land. It is funny in places, but in the right places. The humour's never just thrown in there in a super tense scene and it not feel right. There's some real good character arcs and character progression, as I said, and there's some real good character interactions between characters that you don't usually see interact too much in the other films. So you've got Bones and Spock go off together, and although you do see this classic Bones not liking Vulcans very much, but having this sort of silent affinity for Spock is still, he's part of his crew, part of his family. You see Scotty and the New Girl Jailer. The New Girl Jailer is absolutely fantastic. You know, it's a shame that we didn't see more of her in the film, and that they had to cut out a lot of her backstory to try and cut the film time down. You see Kirk and Chekhov together, and you see a good relationship between them, even though they don't usually interact very well. And there's a lot of non-verbal communication between them that shows just how tight-knit this group is, even between the 2 people that probably interact the least. And Uhura and Sulu are together for a lot of the films, and you don't usually see them interact. And again, they're very much like family, they're very much like a brother and sister, and they really do look out for each other and trust each other. And I think those interactions between the characters make this film not just great, but fantastic. And you really do get a sense that they are a family and that they've been living together for a long time. These aren't just characters that have popped up in the last few months while filming. These are developed, real people that have been living together for years. They trust each other, they rely on each other, and as I said, they're not just a crew, they're a family. I also like the nods to the Enterprise series. This is a series that is overlooked by both the fans and the makers quite often, because people are very divided on it. Personally, I actually really like the series, and the last season was absolutely brilliant as well. And it's a shame for me that it didn't carry on. And there's a lot of nods to it, because also it's the only Star Trek series to still be canon in this Kelvin universe. So it's natural that this series would have an influence, because it's set about 100 years before these films. So like I said, there's a lot of there's a few nods to the Enterprise series. There's even mention of the Xindi attack on Earth from the series. That's no spoiler, it's a throwaway line, but it's a nice little nod. There's many, many Easter eggs from the original series. There's Easter eggs. There's a little Easter egg from Voyager, and there are Easter eggs from the Enterprise series, as I said, as well as more direct nods, I guess. But overall, this film is a Star Trek film, and out of the 3 films, it's the most Star Trek film. It's probably the best Star Trek film since First Contact, and I really love First Contact, but I think that this does actually beat First Contact. But that's my review anyway. I tried not to spoil anything, I hope it didn't. I know it's a short review, but there's not a lot you can really say, other than, if you haven't seen it, I really do urge you to go see it. And if you're a Star Trek fan, I think you'll really enjoy it. But if you're not a Star Trek fan, but you kind of like the you kind of like these new films, I think you'll still really enjoy it as well. There's enough in there for everyone, and it's a really good mix. And this makes me really excited for the next film, which they've already clearly got a story for, as they've already snagged Chris Hemsworth to come back. But that is a story for a later time. I hope that if you have seen it, that you did enjoy it. But feel free to leave any comments in the section below. I love to read the comments, and my social medias will be linked down below. If you enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like, because they all do really help on little YouTube channels like mine. Thank you very much for watching.